All right, ladies and gents, welcome to Game 2 of Alternate Attacks versus Team Acer here in the IPTL. And down in the bottom left-hand corner, we do have the blue Zerg player. It is going to be the star on Team Acer. It is, of course, the Zerg player, Nerchio. And over at the top right-hand corner of the map, we do have the player winning the first game of this set. Of course, you stay on in a Winners League format, so he stays on until he's eliminated. Will he be able to continue to stay on that pedestal? It is aTn.DarKFoRcE.
I don't know, man. Nerchio's got some sick ZVZ. You know, he makes incredible decisions. His defensive play is immaculate. He has great fungals. I mean, his use of the Infestor is definitely one of his strengths as a player.
One thing that I always hear about Nerchio, and as a caster, I guess I'm kind of guilty of saying this as well. I always say he's almost kind of like the second. A lot of people say he's like the right-hand man to Stefano, the second best Zerg in Europe. But I feel like that's almost like a little bit like disrespecting his skill set as a player because he's really talented. And actually, to say that you're the second best to Stefano, that's a huge compliment too, you know?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Stefano is one of the most clutch tournament-playing Zergs that's out there. Certainly one of the best foreigners at that. So yeah, I would agree. And it looks like we are going to see Hatch first here out of both players. Nobody going for an early pool, no kind of cheese. DarKFoRcE going to eke out a few extra drones here, and Nerchio opting to get his pool down just a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it does look like we have a quick, slightly quicker pull right there from the red Zerg player, the blue Zerg player, Nerchio. And Nerchio is also going to add on a gas back at home. And so that gas just coming a few seconds earlier than DarKFoRcE. And typically in ZVZ, you really want to get the Zergling speed right away. This is the current style of playing Zerg versus Zerg. Following that up, you really want a Baneling Nest, whether it be for offensive purposes or defensive purposes. They're still really good for both those requirements, and that's why you get a Baneling Nest.
Yeah, it's almost a necessity. I mean, they're just so essential for holding off any kind of speedling all in. And then obviously if you see your opponent skimping on lings, skimping on defenses, doesn't have a very good SimCity at the front, it's very easy to get aggressive and do a ton of damage with Banelings as well. I mean, especially if you can get them on top of enemy creep. They move so quickly, they can chase down drones. But we'll have to see what both these guys decide to do here. DarKFoRcE continues to accumulate gas, as does Nerchio. Both players have the 2 queens on the way at the same time here.
One also interesting thing to note, Pain User and ZVZ, a lot of times now we're seeing Zergs, in fact it's almost required, you get a crawler at the front, and then you can throw the Baneling Nest in front of the crawler. Actually, when we were out in Australia casting for WCS, which is a huge Zerg scene by the way, all the Zerg versus Zergs we casted, they did this all the time. Get a Baneling Nest or an Evo Chamber or something right in front of the Spine Crawler, and you put a crawler right behind that because it's so good at sniping out Banelings when they're coming in, and of course the building helps to protect the crawler.
Yeah, Moonglade, Pig, and Mafia were using that quite a bit. Yeah, and I really like the positioning of the buildings. I mean, it kind of blocks the queen in a little bit, but we do have Nerchio putting his Baneling Nest in the main just to be extra safe. DarKFoRcE putting it sort of in the position that we discussed. I bet you he could tuck his queen in there if push comes to shove. Or he could put a crawler here, as I mentioned before. Yeah, he doesn't need to yet. He's just going to continue worrying about those injects. Second gas here coming for DarKFoRcE. And Nerchio already building 12 speedlings here.
Looks like he's going to be aggressive.
Definitely.
Aggressive Baneling, a Zergling attack here. Now, the thing about ZVZ, unlike all the other matchups in StarCraft 2 for Zerg, the Overlords are typically spotted in the middle of the map because you don't fear anything like a Marine or a Stalker coming on the early game to take it out. So that means that DarKFoRcE will have an early warning beacon for these incoming Zerglings. Yeah, now what's he going to do to prepare for this early aggression here? We'd have a few defensive Banelings being morphed in as we speak. He's going to try and get the queen at the natural. I think he will get that queen. Oh, just barely. And it looks like just with that, Nerchio says, okay, bye-bye. I mean, yeah, it's going to slow down his production for quite a bit. He's going to miss a few injects at the natural. That's a huge loss, though, man, to lose that early queen. Picking off the queen is very, very important. Now, he did suffer some losses there, so if there is some counter-aggression, which there is not,
Well, DarKFoRcE is sending those banelings across the map right now, but they move ever so slowly off creep, and neither of these players do have a lair. Spire coming
on
down.
the way, though, for DarKFoRcE.
Wow, very quick Spire here out of DarKFoRcE.
And we saw him do this in the last game against Paranoid. Looks like the Spire is being thrown all the way back inside the main base, so it is as far away from any possible Overlord detection or Zergling run by or Zergling units as possible. So DarKFoRcE is going to try to rely on the element of surprise here, and at the same time, he's also moving out with some Zerglings and Banelings, and I really like that because it keeps Nerchio in the back. But Nerchio says, no, I'm not going to stay back. I'm actually going to move out across the map and find out what's going on. Do you have a third? Looks like a drone's coming out here, and he is going to be able to snipe that drone out as well. Both players going for Spire, Pain User. Yep,
and that is the trend these days in ZVZ. I mean, it's just excellent. Gives you a ton of map control, allows you to pick off all of your opponent's overlords. It's just going to be all about who can dominate the skies, but Nerchio is so good about that, man. He always runs a pack of lings into the third, whether it's to deny it, whether it's to scout it out. I mean, he just always keeps the beat on the third and finds out exactly where his opponent's headed and how much macro he's got going.
Sorry, I thought that Baneling was an enemy Baneling for a second, but that is, of course, a Baneling coming out from Nerchio. So he's sending one across the map right now, and I do love watching Zergling versus Baneling micro, but one thing to note is Nerchio does not have his mutas coming quite yet. DarKFoRcE is already producing 8, and his will be out a few seconds sooner than his opponent. And right now that Baneling's coming in, but 2 Banelings are there as well. Oh, this is going to be so micro-intensive. Oh my god, both players are just dancing with fire now. Looks like some of the Banelings detonate, but not huge losses. And now DarKFoRcE's mutas come in, so Nerchio must pull away and wait for his mutalisk reinforcements to arrive. And given that both players have gotten mutas and Zerglings here, it's almost like an old Brood War ZVZ, man.
I mean, yeah, it is kind of similar. I wish they still had Overlord stacking, though. That was just such a beautiful mistake in the game.
Wish they still had Scourges.
Oh yeah, Scourges were great too.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Like a lot of the sort of weird things that people considered bugs in Brood War, I feel actually made the game more exciting and more unique.
Oh, for sure. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Patrol microing, vultures, you know, just all kinds of different little tactics like that.
Special tactics.
Special tactics, indeed.
We just got done casting a bunch of games of White Dwarf for the PhD, so we're all on the special tactics binge right now, if you will. Anyways, guys, getting back to this game, it does look like DarKFoRcE is going to send some Zerglings down to the 3rd expansion here, but Nerchio's got a lot of mutas, and with those mutas in that position, you know, he should be totally fine against any type of Zergling attack. And in fact, an interesting kind of dichotomy here with both players going muta Zerglings, highly volatile units, but they're not really being aggressive at all. They're just playing very passive.
Well, I mean,
they're staying back. They're not engaging their muta forces.
Certainly, but they're trying to find a window of opportunity to do damage to the opponent. They're just playing a game of cat and mouse right now all over the map, trying to take control of various positions, trying to get vision of different areas. And does he have some Banelings morphing down there? No, it's just pure Speedlings. So it looks like he's going to try and bait him out here, work his way into the 3rd at the same time. The Mutalisks are out and about. Baneling explodes right there, taking out quite a few Lings, and the rest of the Lings running straight for the main. Additional Lings coming into the 3rd here, and DarKFoRcE with a very kind of crazy attack right there, just going so aggressive, and now it looks like he's going to try and slam into the natural.
I'm not sure though if the attack paid off in terms of just raw Zerglings. Now we are going to have a big attack here. Both mutas armies have +1 armor, so that's a big thing to note. But DarKFoRcE has a lot more mutas here, it looks like.
And Nerchio has some mutas that are hitting that 1 in the back right now. Really wants to get those in there for that glaive splash.
But we do have a counterattack from Nerchio, so he's not, you know, giving up. But the Zerglings really didn't do that much damage at the 3rd of DarKFoRcE. And now Nerchio's in full, well, I was going to say retreat, but it looks like he's running towards his opponent's base. And these mutas, man, just trying to find a way to get away from the enemy mutalisks. But eventually, he's going to get closed in. You can't dodge it. And his flock is going to get overwhelmed and consumed by the Red Brood.
And when both players go mutalisks, this is such a big deal. Taking full air supremacy away from your opponent.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to gather so much strength in numbers. And really, I mean, what are Nerchio's options to hold off the eventual mutalisk harass that's going to come once he finishes the rest of these mutas. He's going to continue to add mutas here to the ball. He already has armor 1 finished. Actually, both players do. And he's going to go for a very, very strong timing at the 3rd.
To answer your question, Pain User, the answer to stopping this, I mean, you're behind right now, obviously. Throw up spores to buy time, get an infestation pit out, and try to hope for great fungals. That's what I would try to do.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I totally agree, but it looks like Nerchio not content to get his infestation pit just yet. I think it would be a good idea for him. Some queens here getting picked off. One has already gone down, and wow, DarKFoRcE just hold positioning on top of all of these mutalisks. The queens helping out quite a bit, but I think it's just too much. No, it looks like he will actually potentially, yes, make a hold here.
Wow, I can't believe he actually was able to well, not lose more than he could have, but there's still a lot of mutas here. Those queens just helping out so much, and you'll note that Nerchio was using transfuse. He had a lot of queens on the ground. Will he have enough to fend off these mutas? One of the queens so low on health, but it has 10 kills. Now, I know a lot of that is probably Zergling. It's not all mutas, but still a 10-kill queen. You don't see that every day. It's a Ravager, man.
Yeah, it's like the queen from Aliens, man.
I would just love to have a Ravaging queen.
A Ravaging queen. Yeah, I bet you would. Now all these mutas from DarKFoRcE continue to pick off Nerchio's mutas left and right. Every time Nerchio tries to move out, get some awareness on the map, you know, he's just getting shut down by DarKFoRcE. DarKFoRcE has great positioning with the mutas. A ton of lings here running into the 3rd and the 4th, actually. Is he going to go for the hatch? It looks like he's going to try and take out the queen first. 4th base does get canceled. Is he going to continue pushing here? He might end up losing all of these lings.
Yeah, it does look like he will, but he lost most of them here and going to try to run some to the top left. One thing to note is Nerchio is going for an infestation pit. In fact, it's finished already researching pathogen glands, and we were mentioning this before, how to stop Mutalisk once you lose air supremacy, and the way to do that is get an infestation pit out, get some really good fungals. Obviously, you want to buy time with spores and queens, and I think Nerchio has been able to do that, but will he be able to get the infestors out in time? 4 are on the way. It looks like DarKFoRcE is going to try to kill the Spire of Nerchio. I think Nerchio could care less about losing that at this moment in time. He just wants to get the infestors out. 1 has come out at the 3rd. He needs to use fungal. He uses 1.
Ooh,
will he get a fungal?
Right there.
Didn't fungal the mutas. That infestor just died.
And he doesn't have the upgrade yet as well.
There
1 fungal does go down. 4 mutas, 5, 6, 7 mutas, I think.
And he chains it. But he doesn't have many more infestors to continue the fungal chain.
Oh, these mutas are so low.
Is Nerchio going to drop to DarKFoRcE here? That would be a huge play for alternate attacks.
Yeah, it would be a huge upset. Does he have enough mutas to hold this off? He's certainly going to try more lings and infestors on the way. He needs to fungal immediately as he comes out.
Terran comes out. I got it, guys. I'll handle this. But no, not really. Too many mutas, and Nerchio, he needs to get another fungal. Can he do it? He might lose this infestor if he's not paying attention. So low in HP. Look at those 2 infestors and the Zerglings coming in by DarKFoRcE to clean up. Nerchio is not doing the best with his infestor control right now.
No, not at all. It's very uncharacteristic of Nerchio to be kind of chased around the map and caught in multiple situations where I feel like he probably shouldn't have engaged.
Right.
But, you know, he did ultimately and ended up paying the price. I mean, when you overcommit with your mutas in a ZVZ, the opponent has a very, very quick opportunity to flank around your mutas, prevent your retreat, thereby almost essentially forcing a fight.
And eventually those infestors are going to come out, and they should eventually get good fungals off, as we can see in this case Nerchio did. But DarKFoRcE really isn't giving up with the mutas, man. He's continuing to make a lot of mutalisks, and on the production tab right now, actually going to switch into Roach, Infestor, and getting Ground Carapace. So I think, you know, I was surprised for a second there, Pain User, because it's like, really? Are you going to keep making mutas against infestors? And I think DarKFoRcE realizes, okay, I can't win the game at this point, which is purely air. I need to switch into a more stable ground army. That's Roach Infestor.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely agree with you there. And Infestors just play such a huge role in every Zerg matchup. I mean, they're just an amazing unit, flat out. They have great abilities. They do tremendous amounts of damage. You can use them to exchange energy for actual, you know, units that do cost money.
Right.
It's very similar to the Swarm Host. You trade very effectively for units that, essentially are free. So it can put you way ahead of your opponent.
And when you get into scrappy battles, it's always nice to have free units on the field, man. Now, I like what DarKFoRcE is doing. Look at the spread on the Mutas here. That is to mitigate the potential damage that a chain fungal lockdown can do. So DarKFoRcE is going to really be able to mitigate a dangerous fungal growth by spreading out his Mutas. He's also got a 4th hatchery mining this entire time. He's been mining the 4th, but surprisingly, not ahead of supply against Nerchio. And I think the reason for that is because Nerchio has such a heavy army of Roach Infestor, and that actually eats up a lot more supply than Muta Zergling does. So that might be a deceiving supply count right there. So I do still feel like DarKFoRcE is ahead in this game. Do solely do that 4th hatch.
Yeah, I would agree. Once he gets the gas going at the 4th hatch, he can pretty much do whatever he wants. But, I don't know if I would say he's ahead here, because if you look at the Infestor count for Nerchio and the amount of energy that he's been building up, I mean, God knows how many fungals and infested Terrans that's going to be. That's
really true. And I guess one thing that we got to account for as well is Roach Hydra Infestor is such a good Zerg composition, especially against Muta Zergling. It's just going to absolutely steamroll these fragile units that DarKFoRcE has out on the field right now. And DarKFoRcE was struggling, trying to get a more stable unit out. He's trying to get an Ultra Cavern finished up right now, but Nerchio's pushing out before the Ultra Cavern will finish. So this is just a crazy game by Nerchio. I thought he was down and out, but it looks like he's going to be able to break the 4th base here.
What I tell you, man, Infestors, good unit. Doing a ton of damage here. Is he going to get a fungal on these Mutalisks? I don't know. Can he get it done?
It looks like he'll just clean it up with Hydras and Infested Terrans anyways.
Yeah, I mean, the Infested Terrans just doing tremendous amounts of damage here. And they're another one of those units, man. They're free of charge. You can trade them away for supply of your opponent. Dropping additional Infestors here at the natural. This game is close. It looks like GG.